Can't hear you.
Yeah.
Can't hear.
Hello and a warm welcome to Federal special program Capital Beat. Calling it one of the darkest chapters in India's democratic history, Prime Minister Narendra Modi today said that the imposition of the emergency by the Congress not only violated the spirit of the Constitution, but placed democracy under arrest. Now, on a day which is observed as the Samvidhan Hatya Diwas, he put out a series of posts and he said that no Indian would ever forget how the voice of parliament was muzzled and attempts were made to control the courts during the period. And obviously, BJP makes it as an event. But in a marked shift, what we saw today, and not recent memory anyone remembers, any Congress president facing the press on 25th June. But this is what happened today. And Mallikarjun Kharge addressed the press, and he basically said that staging a Samvidhan Hatya Diwas was nothing but a drama to hide the governance failure. He hit back at the Prime Minister over his jibes on the 50th anniversary of the emergency. He said that a government which has no tolerance and does not allow the fraternity and liberty to prosper has no right to lecture others. In fact, he addressed about an hour-long press conference at Indira Bhavan where he slammed the BJP and RSS and said that those who played no role in the independence of the country, in framing the constitution and rejected Baba Saheb Ambedkar's constitution are basically raking up the emergency 50 years after it was imposed. And the same people are now talking of saving the constitution. So for the BJP, it is an event to put the Congress on the back foot. But the big question around Congress is that since Mallikarjun Kharge being, I think in my recent memory, I haven't seen a Congress president addressing the press on 25th June. So is Congress trying to shed the baggage of emergency? Is it a marked strategic and political shift of the Congress? And will Congress ever say that emergency was a mistake? So we'll try and look at these questions today. Joining me is Anand Sahai, veteran journalist and political commentator. Thank you so much, Anand, for joining. We have S. Srinivasan, who's the head of the Federal Group and editor-in-chief. Thank you so much, Srinisa, for joining. And I'll start with Anand on his observations. And I'll begin with a question around Congress that Mallikarjun Kharge facing the press on 25th June. Do you see this as a marked political shift where Congress is trying to change itself?
What can Congress change? The emergency was declared, right, 50 years ago. That can't be changed. Like 1947, India became independent, Pakistan became a separate dominion, that cannot be changed, right? So what's there to change? But the point is this, Mr. Modi, since he came to power every single year, now it's become a full-fledged government program. Today I saw, half a dozen these chaps, ministers, and that gentleman who's the chairman of the upper house, who sings every tune that the government sings, and he's got nothing else to do. So they've all been talking, tweeting on the same lines, and I can bet my last penny that if Mr. Modi stopped tweeting, they'll also stop tweeting. So it's a linked phenomenon. But let me also say that before this government came in, the people who actually, I don't take very seriously what Modi was up to when he was a young boy, in the 70s. God knows, he claims he was in Kashmir, he claims he was in Bangladesh, he makes all kinds of very interesting, fascinating claims which need to be cross-checked. So forget about that. But people on the ground, in that section of the Congress party, like Mr. Chandrasekhar, who were imprisoned during the emergency, and the government that came into being, Morarji Desai's government, members of that government, members of subsequent governments, many opposition governments were formed, non-Congress governments were formed. Even anti-Congress governments were formed, like Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee's. Not one of them ever went about observing this Hatya Diwas. Hatya Diwas is a new word, a new expression. but observing January 25, 26 as the anti-emergency day. This is a plain and simple gimmick. You know, there was nothing of the kind in the past. Now, this is not to justify the emergency. Emergency was indeed a terrible thing which happened. Suspension of democratic rights of the people is never a good idea. Leave alone the emergency, giving extraordinary powers or excessive powers to the state versus the citizen is, in a fundamental way, a very, very flawed idea and should not be permitted unless there is actually a grave emergency. You know, suppose you get attacked by some major power, etc., then you can suspend the emergency, suspend normal functioning of the constitution. That's all right. That's one point. The second point is when Indira Gandhi suspended these things and declared the emergency, she was not going out of the constitution. She was using the powers given to the government within the constitution. And when that ended, when she realized that the opposition to her had grown to such a degree, she went and revoked the emergency and then did miserably in the election which followed. Though even in that election, I was surprised to read recently that her party scored close to 35% votes, but got only about 150 seats in the House. Well, today they score 34, 35% and get the majority. You know, that is an interesting part. Number two, I would say that the government today, I would not specify any one person, the government today is always talking about, suspension of the constitution, therefore a black day, etc., etc. But I would submit to you that members of the government who belong to the ruling party and then their mothership called the RSS, these people did not accept the Indian flag. You know, people who did not accept the Indian flag until quite recently, until a couple of decades ago, on what basis can they talk about they don't have very much faith in the constitution. So on what basis can they talk about Black Day? Why Black Day? Because it was suspension of the constitution, in which you don't have, ab initio, don't have very much faith. You're going around acknowledging it, being forced to accept it, because at the moment you have no choice. But if you remember, last year, the last Lok Sabha election, 24, it was a major campaign by many BJP leaders in different states to say that give us 400 seats. We'll throw out this constitution, bring our own constitution, which depends on Manuvad and the ancient traditions of India and so on. Everybody knows that they have no faith in the constitution. They have no faith in who drafted the constitution. They have no faith in Gandhi, who led the long struggle against colonial rule so that the new constitution may be given to India. They have no faith in somebody like Jawaharlal Nehru, who Ambedkar is drafting the constitution, but Nehru animated the entire process. And there were other stalwarts from all parts of India, eminent people who made every sacrifice from all parts of the country, belonging to every language group and religion, who took part in that whole exercise, first of freedom, attaining freedom, and then giving themselves a constitution through great discussion, which went on from 46 sometime to 47, to 50 nearly. So it was a very long drawn process in which these people are not even represented. As Shama Prasad Mukherjee was there. He was there, but he was the leader of the Hindu Mahasabha at that time. Jansangh had not been born. And interestingly, that important 370 discussion that they did, Shama Prasad Mukherjee never opposed it. So it was a very different kind of atmosphere, different bunch of people. And Mr. Modi and his colleagues have neither any basic affiliation to their constitution. They want a totally different set of things. And until such time that they can change it, transform it, throw out this thing, throw it into the dustbin, until then they have, willy-nilly, they have to go along. So that is what's going on. And right now they do realize that on an all India platform, it is not the regional party that will fight the ruling party at the center. No matter how decrepit it may be, there is only one party which opposes the current regime. Not only politically many may oppose it,
Oh, but
but
one quick
but
question.
fundamentally and ideologically.
No,
Yeah,
but
sorry.
one quick question, and then I'll go to Srini, sir. That Anand, is the question around emergency a perpetual dilemma for Congress? The
No,
very
no, not
fact
at
that
all.
no, I'm saying Congress president today, after many decades, we are seeing a Congress president facing a press. In fact, we don't remember a Congress president facing a press on 25th of June. What would you really say towards this particular development? Do you see this as a marked shift as far as Congress used to shy away from facing the
No,
press
no,
on this?
no. Sorry. I have to differ with your premise. It was not the Congress president facing the press. Congress president today invited the press. It is not that the press cornered him and say, come on, don't run away from the discussion on the
Right.
emergency. That
Yes,
gentleman called the press and he referred, I saw very briefly half a minute of it. He referred to a government circular. A
yes,
government, BJP is a party, is free to do what it likes. Similarly, other parties may do, right? But the government, according to Mr. Kharge, I am not aware of it myself, has issued a circular or some letter or notice to state governments that please observe this day in a big way to remind the people how democracy was trampled upon. And the obverse of this, by implication, is this, that we are great defenders of democracy and this constitution. So, to me, the ab initio, the whole premise seems to be flawed, fundamentally. So, if Kharge was trying to point that out, it has nothing to do with the Congress running away. I remember I was in UP, in Rai Bareli, in all these places where Rahul Gandhi was contesting the election and in neighboring constituencies. Priyanka Gandhi was confronting the emergency question. She said, when Indira Gandhi made a mistake, people threw her out. What's her name? Priyanka said this. I don't know how widely it was reported in the Delhi media or media outside, but it was there all over the place. And so, this is the way of democracy where people come and go depending on who you choose. And and even Mrs. Gandhi, आपने इंदिरा जी को उस समय उनको समर्थन नहीं किया क्योंकि उन्होंने जो किया उससे आप खुश नहीं थे. That is what she said. She was an important Congress leader. She may not be the president, right? I don't think it was shying away, because I think half the congressmen will agree that the emergency was a terrible idea. Indira Gandhi herself, late President Pranab Mukherjee, has recorded this in his memoirs. I've seen it. That after the emergency was ended, she decided to go to England, and at the airport in London, the whole big, very hostile media, she just come out of the emergency. And they said, so what do you have to say about this emergency now? She laughed and she said, by that one stroke, I turned everybody against myself. It was a totally bad move on my part. The whole atmosphere changed. I mean, she acknowledged it. So it is not for the first time and all that.
Right.
So, but it is the first time that any government in India is going on parrot fashion, talking about this in order only to extricate itself, to wash itself of all the sins that it's been committing for the last 10 years, 10 and a half years now.
Right.
But everything has grown bad. Civil liberties stand suspended practically. They don't exist except in name. Inequalities have deepened. Militarily, the Chinese are sitting on your borders. They
Yeah,
walked in.
Yeah, Anand,
And
sorry,
nothing
I'll
has
cut.
gone right. So you
I'll
want to
interrupt you.
divert from there and talk about emergency, and who are the present lot to talk about democracy, for goodness sake, you know.
In fact, all these points were raised by Mr. Kharge today in the press conference, whether it was unemployment, whether it was suspension of civil liberties. He spoke about everything and how the constitution was misused in the last 11 years. But coming back to the question around Congress, Srini sir, do you think that Congress is actually trying to shed the baggage? It's right that Indira Gandhi faced these questions. Priyanka Gandhi, during her election campaigns, was questioned on the emergency and she answered it. But even then, Congress continues to be badgered around this emergency question. Can Congress really come out of that stain ever? Many people say that very categorically, Congress should come out and say that it was a mistake, it was a blunder. Why can't Congress say that and just get off it? Like in the 1984 riots case, I remember Manmohan Singh apologized for it. And after that, nobody, I mean, people do keep referring to that, but more or less that question is closed. And Congress automatically says that, okay, Mr. Manmohan Singh has apologized, that question is over. Why can't Congress categorically come out on the emergency as well?
No, like Anand right now pointed out, I think Congress party has said this. Indira Gandhi herself has made this. See, I don't think they're defensive about it. I think that's not the point here. I think Anand very elaborately explained that point. But what the difference I see here certainly is that the Congress party, which is supposed to be the main opposition, and it is the mainline, national party, and all other parties are largely regional in nature, and therefore it falls upon its shoulder to take upon the government, and it is prime responsibility. And as a leader of the opposition, which Congress has, Rahul Gandhi, it's the duty of the party to take up issues and talk about them. So, what is perhaps today slightly different is the fact from what usually would happen is that Congress could hold a press conference and then use this opportunity to say that, look, the emergency had happened. What has happened is there for everyone to see. But then, what is currently happening? I mean, what Kharge probably tried to show today was that things what are happening today, if you were to compare those, if you had to talk about, say, federalism, or you had to talk about institutional collapse, or you had to talk about subversion of various other institutions, it is happening right now. It is happening in front of your eyes. I think that's what makes it different today, the Congress party trying to say that. But then the question is, like you're saying, has this a strategy of Congress party? Do we now expect a more aggressive responses from Congress as an opposition and able to take on this regime far more cogently? I still don't think so, because you see, recently we saw what happened, the Indo-Pak war. There are a number of questions which, as an opposition, legitimately Congress could have raised, but then it did, but then it wasn't very effective. It ran shy of certain issues. And then they always face, whenever they go to election, the compulsions of electoral politics, where though Congress party claims secularism as their linchpin of all their policies, but then when it comes to majoritarian politics and when they have to wink, when they know that, electorally it is not helping them, and it is a competitive politics, they have to give way to something, they do that. Of course, one party you saw, Aam Aadmi Party, completely going over to the other side. But then even Congress occasionally does this. So if your question is whether the party has now decided to take on all these issues upfront, head on, I don't see that. But yet, certainly today, Kharge has tried to say that, okay, emergency has happened. Um, but what is currently happening is equally, should be taken note of. I think that's what he's trying to say today. That's how I read it.
But, Srini sir, did you find Mallikarjun Kharge's press conference today, which we could say it was ineffective? He could have put the points across better. He spoke on all issues, but that hard-hitting tone somewhere, people felt that it was missing, and it could have been put across in a much better fashion. Did you also feel so when you saw the press conference?
No, so if you're asking about delivery, then obviously, these are individual traits. How someone is a good speaker, how powerfully somebody delivers. But if you look at the message, what he's trying to say is that if the number of things which the government is claiming today, he is just trying to kind of say, for instance, he says it's an undeclared emergency. You guys are talking about emergency period, but today there is an undeclared emergency which is going on.
Yes.
He says fraternity and liberty are not being allowed to progress. Then he raises some, there is no freedom of expression or movement, he says. Unemployment, corruption, economic failures are all there everywhere to see. So he is raising all these issues. So, but today he's using this opportunity to raise all these issues. How effective? That we'll have to wait and see, because these things have to be consistently raised. Because one event today he has done that, but whether the party together continuously raise the issue and tries to bring it in people's consciousness, that's how a political party should work. Whether they're able to drum it up to a certain level, that's what one has to see. But I don't see that happening right now. It's just that today's event, they decided that they have to come out today and must rebut, because they're also facing this problem of not having enough media space. On the one hand, when you find that the government has, you see government all over, all newspapers today, even prominent newspapers, you see the first lead, second lead, all about emergency. You see television channels constantly running it. So it's for them. They also need to find some space. They have to get in and at least put a point across.
So, sir,
I think that's
sorry,
fine.
Would you see this as an effort to grab the media space by the Congress party, or would you see this as a political shift where they want to invite the press and talk about this emergency, like what Mr. Kharge has done today?
So, if political shift, I think then you're reading too much. Yeah, so I won't see as if, but I wish that Congress party constantly raises more issues and they are able to effectively send across. As a responsible opposition party, they must do that. I think that is what they're trying, but I don't think they did anything else other than this one press conference to really put across that actually they are taking on. I mean, I haven't seen anything like this. So basically today they're just on a day when there is so much happening, they just want to put their point of view that this is what is happening. In fact, I would say that there are a lot more write-ups in websites, a lot more opinion pieces which have come out, which actually look at emergency far more critically. The basic issue is that emergency was perhaps it's because of one person who's defeated in election, and therefore it one person's effort to come back to power, and then but today's thing is completely different. Today there is there is an ideological project which is aimed at creating something else, a Hindu India, which is completely different from the emergency of those days. See, so also people are pointing out that emergency could be sorted out in 2 years. But then whether whatever damage or whatever has happened in last 10 years to the fabric, to the social fabric, to the political fabric, can it be reversed? I mean, how many decades or years it is going to take? I mean, those are the kind of questions which are being risen. I think it is important today, while everybody is looking at emergency, which is a dark day, nobody denies it. Nobody can ever nobody can wish it away, like Anand is saying. True, we can't wish it away. It was the darkest chapter. For 21 months, all civil rights were suspended. And after that, it should not happen again. Everybody must remember that day. But having remembered that day, we should also reflect upon what is happening currently. I think that is that's the main point we need to keep. And whether Congress party has been managed to highlight it, I really don't know. I think they're just saying it today so that they're not completely out of people's consciousness.
Okay. So
if they want to really do it, then it has to be sustained basis. Otherwise, one press conference or one event doesn't add much.
Right. Okay. So, Anand, to you, to the concluding for the concluding comments, how far can BJP take this concept of Samvidhan Hatya Divas? Because there are
They are
many.
stupid. No, no, they are so stupid. They can't take it any distance at all. Even last year, they all but lost the election. If the election commission was not in their pocket, they for all the
No, but
halla about emergency.
the point is that as long as media continues to bat for the government,
No,
if
let
we
the media do whatever they like. No, let me, if I may just finish this, let the media do whatever they like. It is not the media which made the BJP win again last year, right? It was the election commission. And but for that, the gap was so narrow, the result could have just flipped the other way. So all your halla gulla about emergency on June 25, 26 each year, that doesn't take you any far. It is too far back, and
why
it's like,
I asked
it's,
this question was why I asked you
yeah,
this question was that the
yeah,
younger generation, 65% of the population of the country is under 35. Some of them were
right,
born, were not even
yeah,
born. So if you look
yeah,
at the concept of the emergency, and when BJP comes out with a concept like Samvidhan Hatya Divas, and the
uh,
youngsters or the younger generation watches that, how many of them would actually relate with what Congress is saying and what BJP is saying? And obviously they will fall
I
into
believe I get your question, and I think it's a useful question to ask what you're asking. But I think people far back is 50 years old. Did my generation, which came immediately after independence, did we remember 47, 14, 15th August, 15th August, 16th August? What led to it? What happened after that? Only those of us who were very studious about it went about finding out. The rest couldn't be bothered. I reported the fall of Gorbachev and so on in Moscow, fall of communism, for a very leading newspaper of India. And there, nobody had heard of Lenin and Stalin. Here, nobody's heard of Gandhi. Gandhi, vaguely, they have vague idea. One doddering old chap with a stick and so on. That's all they know about him. Nehru, etc., nothing. In the dustbin of history already. And you believe you me, Mr. Modi, in 3.5 years flat, in case he's no longer PM, all these characters who line up to sing his praises, they'll all be gone. He too will be gone. Who remembers Mandela in South Africa now? Or who remembers Mandela's nemesis, the fellows who put Mandela in jail for 26 years? Nobody. Neither the remaining whites nor the bulk of the blacks. So let's not try to think that because the population is so young, etc., so they'll be swayed by this. Population is not swayed by those things. They are mainly swayed by their own living conditions, which are miserable. When I was a young man, I thought the world lay at my feet. Every opportunity was available to me. Now nothing. We were a much poorer country then, but we had a much bigger name in the world. Today, our reputational image is gone. We have zero reputational image. This
all
blighter
right.
Trump can come and say whatever he likes. And our Jones here just keeps mum.
Right.
He loses his tongue. His tongue starts on 26th of June, 25th of June. Before he became prime minister, even he wasn't talking about the emergency.
Hmm.
He was busy. He wasn't even defending himself on Godhra riots, on Gujarat riots. So, I mean, so these are just things to mark. It's like these Punjab, some parties in Punjab kept marking Gallugara Day on the day in June when the Golden Temple was stormed. That was a terrible event. It was a terrible event also. But, and some parties kept trying to remember that day. After that, even they got tired and gave it up.
Right.
Can I go around
Okay.
remembering 1857? Tell me that.
Right.
What's
Right.
this nonsense?
I also want Srini sir to summarize this concept around the Samvidhan Hatya Divas and how Congress is now taking this question and what BJP is up to. What would you say, Srini sir? And then we'll wind up the show. Yeah.
Yeah, I think most of these days are, politicians deploy all these days to bring certain memories and build a certain narrative. So what is the narrative being built here? That look, we are giving a government which is democratically doing a lot of things for you, which is actually ensuring progress, which is giving you a lot of growth. We are now a world power. A whole lot of things which are all, which are all fed to the media, through media to people, a certain narrative. The only difference is in the past, these narratives will only come from state ordained media, which would be radio and television. Now it is happening mass media. It is also happening to social media, and it is magnified because of a certain a trend right now where right-wing politics is at its height, and a whole lot of people are listening to that. But then there are a whole lot of people are also there who are willing to see the other side, who want to examine that what has happened. For instance, Anand was right. I think the people have forgotten. People today, Islamophobia is so high. They think Iran is the worst possible, dictatorial regime in the world. I think they have forgotten for the fact that what has happened to 50,000 Gazans, to Palestinians who have died. The Israelis, Jews who went through a certain Holocaust, is actually trying the same thing on these people. I mean, how many people remember that? Like he was saying, talking about tongue, there was a nice piece which T.K. Arun has written today, where he says that a cat perhaps has stolen Indian government's tongue. Where was it when it couldn't take a stand on whether we stand by Iran or we stand by Israel? Where are we? So I think these are issues which cannot be easily forgotten by an event or so. But yet, political parties, bring back memories in certain way, set a certain narratives. Whether it is Emergency Day, or whether it is like he said earlier, Gallugara Day, or whether any other day, these days are observed to mark a certain event and bring certain narratives to set a certain so to build a certain narrative. So these are the things done, but it really depends on the opposition how they are able to manage and slice through this and tell their section of audience, because people want to listen to all this. They really want to be educated about many of these issues, but it really depends on how much the other side is able to give to tell a complete story.
So we'll have to end it here. Thank you so much, Anand Sahai, Srini sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.